Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we're stepping into a story that begins with an image truly unsettling.
What?
A tall, unnervingly grinning man, often depicted in a metallic suit, appearing seemingly out of thin air on a quiet, isolated road.
Yeah, it's a powerful image.
Imagine, if you will, the serene, almost sleepy landscape of West Virginia back in November 1966. For a seemingly ordinary sewing machine salesman, his life was about to take an extraordinary, bewildering turn, one that would not only birth a legend, but also, intertwine with some of America's most bizarre and enduring paranormal events.
Right.
We're talking about the enigmatic figure known as Indrid Cold, the infamous Grinning Man.
A name that certainly sticks with you.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to thoroughly unpack the peculiar, almost surreal details of this foundational story, to explore the multitude of theories that have sprung up around it over the decades, and to deeply question why such an odd and often debated account has not only persisted but continues to haunt communities and ignite endless speculation. What does a story like Indrid Cold's tell us about the nature of the unexplained and perhaps about ourselves? Let's explore.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How a singular, highly unusual encounter can just reverberate through generations, continually capturing the imagination and challenging our fundamental perceptions of what is truly possible.
Yeah.
The narrative of Indrid Cold is not just some isolated incident. It has become a cornerstone of American paranormal folklore, deeply, almost inextricably, woven into the very fabric of the high strangeness that so distinctly characterized the 1960s.
That whole era was just full of it.
Exactly. It compels us to ask, what inherent human need or curiosity drives us to cling to these tales even when they so utterly defy conventional explanation and logic?
That's a critical point to consider, and at the absolute heart of this enduring legend is a man named Woodrow Derenberger. To truly understand the Grinning Man, we really have to start with him and break down his initial pivotal experience.
Definitely. He's key.
So, who was Woodrow Derenberger, and what made his particular story so incredibly compelling and perplexing right from its very inception?
Well, Woodrow Derenberger was, by all accounts, an ordinary, pretty respected member of his community in Parkersburg, West Virginia. He worked as a sewing machine salesman, a very grounded, conventional profession.
Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Not at all. And crucially, he was described by those who knew him well, his family, friends, neighbors, as a normal, stable individual. There was no known history of mental illness, nor was he known for playing elaborate pranks or, seeking attention.
Okay.
This everyday, seemingly unremarkable background is absolutely vital because it creates the central enigma of his story. Was his account a genuine encounter with something truly extraordinary, a profound delusion, or perhaps a carefully constructed hoax?
Right, the credibility factor.
Exactly. His perceived credibility and straightforward nature made his outlandish claims all the more perplexing and difficult to dismiss for those who heard them directly.
It sets the stage for a compelling mystery. So let's walk through this pivotal encounter, the one that really ignited the entire phenomenon. It occurred on November 2, 1966.
That's the date.
Try to visualize this scene. Derenberger is simply driving home on Interstate 77 near Parkersburg, a perfectly routine evening. What happened next completely shattered his reality and plunged him into the realm of the unexplained.
It was indeed a night that would forever alter his life. As he was driving, seemingly out of nowhere, a large, dark gray object suddenly descended and landed directly in front of his truck, completely blocking the entire highway.
Just landed.
Right there.
Just landed. Now, the description Derenberger gave of this object is by far one of the most unique and bizarre details of the entire story. He didn't describe a sleek saucer or a cigar-shaped craft, the usual suspects,
Yeah, what did he say it looked like?
Instead, he likened it to an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney.
A kerosene lamp chimney. Seriously. That particular detail is crucial. It instantly sets this account apart from many other UFO sightings of the era, adding an almost surreal, yet incredibly specific visual to his narrative.
It's so oddly specific.
It really is. The object, he said, was about 35 to 40 feet wide, round at the bottom, and tapered towards the top. It hovered momentarily before settling softly on the asphalt.
A kerosene lamp chimney blocking a highway. It's so. Yeah, oddly specific, almost comically out of place, yet undeniably unsettling. And then, From this incredibly strange craft, a figure emerged.
Mm-hmm.
This is the moment Indrid Cold, the Grinning Man, steps into the chilling spotlight. Can you vividly paint a picture of him for us based on Derenberger's immediate and lasting descriptions?
Okay, so the figure who emerged from this mysterious craft was described as a tall man standing at least 6 feet tall, maybe a bit more, with dark, slicked-back hair. He had a deep, almost unnatural tan.
A tan. In November, in West Virginia.
Right, odd. But without a doubt, his most striking and frankly deeply unsettling feature was a broad, fixed smile or grin perpetually plastered on his face.
That grin.
Derenberger specifically emphasized that this wasn't a friendly or warm smile. It was described as unnervingly constant, almost rigid, giving the impression of an artificial or forced expression that never wavered.
Just fixed there. Creepy.
Very creepy. As for his attire, he wore a dark overcoat, and beneath it, a metallic green uniform was visible, shimmering subtly.
Metallic green.
The combination of this unnerving, unchanging grin and the peculiar, almost anachronistic attire immediately set him apart from any ordinary human encounter. Derenberger reported feeling no fear initially, only an overwhelming sense of bewilderment.
I can only imagine. That sounds profoundly unnerving. Imagine that unwavering smile, fixed and unreadable. And the method of communication was equally atypical, wasn't it?
Yes.
This wasn't a shouted exchange on a deserted highway. It involved another key paranormal element.
Telepathy. That's absolutely right. The man, who identified himself to Derenberger as Indrid Cold, communicated entirely without moving his lips. This telepathic exchange is a hallmark element found in numerous alleged UFO and paranormal encounters, often used to sort of bridge communication gaps between different forms of intelligence.
Right, you hear that a lot.
Cold's message to Derenberger was that he was a searcher, not an aggressor, and that he hailed from a planet called Lanulos, located within the galaxy of Ganymedes.
Lanulos.
Ganymedes. He explicitly assured Derenberger he meant no harm, which, given his unsettling appearance and the sudden, bizarre nature of the encounter, would have been a necessary, if still disorienting, reassurance.
Yeah, you hope so.
The interaction, though wordless in a conventional sense, conveyed a clear, almost urgent message.
And then the instruction he gave Derenberger was equally counterintuitive. He wasn't told to keep quiet, to forget what he saw, or to conceal the experience. Quite the opposite.
Exactly.
He was told to report it. That's a highly unusual command for an alleged clandestine visitor, isn't it?
It truly is. Cold specifically instructed Derenberger to report their meeting to local authorities, adding yet another layer of strangeness and, ironically, a perceived sense of legitimacy to the encounter.
Why do that?
That's the million-dollar question. Why would an alleged alien visitor actively encourage public disclosure of their interaction? This defies the typical narrative of secrecy often associated with such sightings, leading some to speculate about Cold's true intentions or nature.
Was it a test, maybe?
Could be a test, a deliberate act of disclosure, we just don't know. Furthermore, Cold concluded by stating he would see Derenberger again, a promise that would indeed set the stage for what Derenberger claimed became a series of continued and increasingly elaborate interactions.
Okay, so Derenberger, perhaps emboldened by this weird instruction, actually went public. He held a press conference shortly after the incident, sharing his incredible story with a skeptical yet, I imagine, captivated local media.
Oh, absolutely.
He even later authored a book titled Visitors from Lanulos. This wasn't a quiet, private experience for him. He committed fully to his story, despite the very real potential for ridicule and skepticism he was bound to face.
That level of unwavering public commitment, particularly in the social climate of the 1960s, is profoundly noteworthy. It speaks to either an astonishing conviction in what he experienced or, well, a unique psychological framework.
Right.
What's truly fascinating is that Derenberger didn't limit himself to just one encounter. He claimed to have had numerous further interactions with Indrid Cold and his companions over the subsequent years.
So it wasn't just a one-off thing.
Not according to him. The narrative escalated significantly, with Derenberger eventually alleging that he was not only visited, but was actually taken to their home planet of Lanulos.
Whoa, okay. Taken to the planet.
That's what he claimed. He described Lanulos as a technologically advanced but environmentally preserved world where beings lived in harmony and communicated telepathically.
Quite a step up from a roadside chat.
A huge step. Despite the increasing elaborateness and sheer unbelievability of these later claims, His family and friends consistently maintain that they found him credible and never believed he was fabricating his story. He never retracted his account, even in the face of ongoing public skepticism, which makes his consistency, even across increasingly bizarre details, a crucial and perplexing part of the enigma surrounding Indrid Cold.
What's also incredibly compelling is that Derenberger's encounter, while central, wasn't entirely isolated in terms of a grinning man figure. There were other similar, though distinctly different sightings around the same time, weren't there?
Yes, exactly.
This complicates the narrative considerably.
Yes, this is a crucial distinction and adds a layer of complexity to the legend. Roughly a month before Derenberger's initial encounter, in October 1966, a chilling report emerged from Elizabeth, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, so not West Virginia.
Right, different state, slightly earlier. Two boys, Martin Munoz and James Yankitis, claimed to have seen a grinning man.
Tell us about that one. How was it different?
Well, Martin Munoz and James Yankitis were walking home late one night when they claimed a figure, unnervingly tall and thin, wearing dark clothing, stepped out from behind a building. What truly terrified them was its grotesque, fixed grin. They described it as clown-like or evil, stretching unnaturally across its face.
So definitely not friendly.
Definitely not. Unlike Derenberger's Indrid Cold, this New Jersey figure was described as silent, just staring at them with that chilling smile before vanishing abruptly.
Just vanished.
Poof. This earlier sighting establishes a precedent for a grinning man, but one with a distinctly more menacing, less communicative, and ultimately more sinister presence.
Oh, wait.
It sets it apart from Derenberger's initially more benign, despite the unsettling grin encounter with Cold. This stark contrast is vital for understanding how the public perception of the grinning man would evolve over time.
It's compelling to see how personal accounts like Derenberger's often become woven into much broader cultural narratives. Given the charged atmosphere of the 1960s, how did the popular extraterrestrial or interdimensional hypothesis immediately embrace a figure like Indrid Cold? It seems like a natural fit for the UFO wave of that era.
You're absolutely right. It was an almost immediate connection. If we connect this to the broader picture, Indrid Cold's story slotted perfectly into the overarching UFO wave narratives that were sweeping popular culture and public consciousness throughout the 1960s.
Everyone was seeing something back then, it seemed.
It really felt that way. The descriptions of a strange, unusual craft, even if described as a lamp chimney, and particularly the telepathic communication, strongly aligned with and reinforced popular UFO lore of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The perceived connections to other unexplained phenomena, which we'll get into, also inherently lent credence to the idea of a non-human or at least non-conventional origin. This theory is incredibly compelling because it offers a framework, however speculative, for understanding something that fundamentally defies our known physics and biology. It taps into the idea that there are intelligences far beyond our current grasp.
But even with the tantalizing idea of interdimensional beings or aliens, we always hit that wall, don't we? The lack of concrete, verifiable physical evidence.
That lack of any verifiable physical evidence is certainly a major hurdle and remains a significant challenge to this theory, as it does for so many paranormal claims. You can't just, bring back a souvenir from Lanulos.
Yeah.
However, it's precisely this persistent gap, this lingering ambiguity that paradoxically allows for continued speculation and fuels its persistent appeal in paranormal and ufology circles.
It leaves room for belief.
Exactly. People are drawn to the idea that there's something out there operating on principles we don't yet understand, and that these encounters, however fleeting or strange, are glimpses into a larger unknown reality.
And it's that very ambiguity that allows these stories to persist. What's particularly intriguing, though, is how Derenberger's experience aligns with other, even more famous events from that exact period, specifically the Mothman sightings in nearby Point Pleasant.
Ah, yes. The Mothman connection.
This isn't just a coincidence, is it? It seems to suggest a deeper connection, or at least people wanted there to be one.
This connection is absolutely critical and often considered the linchpin of the high strangeness concept that developed around these events. The chronological overlap between Derenberger's encounter with Indrid Cold and the more famous, dramatic Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant is undeniable and striking.
And they weren't far apart geographically, right?
Not at all. Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is just about 70 miles north of Parkersburg, where Derenberger's encounter occurred. This geographical and temporal proximity immediately spurred researchers and enthusiasts to look for deeper connections between these seemingly disparate but equally bizarre phenomena.
It feels like something was happening in that area.
It really does. It forces us to ask, were these truly isolated incidents, or were they components of something far larger, a concerted wave of unexplained events?
And then we have the monumental figure of John Keel, the influential UFO researcher, whose work, particularly his seminal book, The Mothman Prophecies, really cemented this connection in the public consciousness.
Keel is unavoidable here.
How did Keel's exhaustive research and interpretations profoundly shape the narrative of Indrid Cold, particularly at popular understanding?
John Keel's role in popularizing, interpreting, and ultimately connecting these phenomena cannot be overstated. It was truly transformative. In The Mothman Prophecies, published in 1975, Keel actively wove the Indrid Cold story into the fabric of the Mothman events.
You put them side by side.
He did more than that. He proposed a groundbreaking theory he termed high strangeness, suggesting that Indrid Cold, the Mothman, UFOs, men in black, poltergeist activity, even precognitive experiences were not isolated incidents, but rather manifestations of a larger, interconnected phenomenon.
Like it was all linked.
Exactly. Keel argued these could be attributed to ultra-terrestrial entities, meaning they're not necessarily from outer space, but perhaps from another dimension or hidden within our own reality, operating outside our conventional understanding of physics and biology.
Ultra-terrestrials.
Yeah.
Interesting term.
He believed they were an ancient, manipulative intelligence that has always interacted with humanity, shaping our myths and beliefs. Keel's work significantly popularized many of the most famous details of the Grinning Man, including the emphasis on the grinning aspect itself, and how it shifted from merely unsettling to genuinely sinister.
So Keel wasn't just reporting these events. He was, in a profound way, shaping the folklore in real time.
Without a doubt.
It makes me wonder, if his interpretations were so powerful, did they inadvertently create elements of the legend that weren't perhaps present in the original accounts? Could the very act of researching and popularizing these stories actually alter them in the collective consciousness?
That's an exceptionally astute observation and a critical insight into the study of folklore, definitely. Keel's interpretations, while incredibly influential and thought-provoking, arguably did shift the public narrative.
How so?
While Derenberger's initial account, remember, presented Cold as a searcher who explicitly stated he meant no harm, while the grin was unsettling, the overall intent seemed benign, maybe even curious.
Right, the no harm part.
But through Keel's powerful narrative lens, and especially when contextualized with the genuinely sinister New Jersey Grinning Man sightings we mentioned.
Which Keel would have known about.
Oh, yes. Indrid Cold became inextricably associated with a more foreboding, even malevolent presence in the popular imagination. This transformation from a potentially benign space brother into the unsettling, sinister Grinning Man many remember today demonstrates the powerful, almost alchemical role that narrative and interpretation play in shaping our collective understanding of mystery.
Yeah.
It really blurs the lines between raw experience and constructed folklore.
That's a powerful point about how a story can evolve through its telling and retelling. Now, shifting away from the purely alien or supernatural, some theories lean towards a more human, albeit covert, explanation. The government experiment or the infamous Men in Black theory.
Ah, the MIB angle.
How do Cold's specific characteristics of behavior feed into that particular interpretation?
This theory often emerges directly from the very specific physical description and the almost programmatic behavior attributed to Indrid Cold. Think about it. The dark overcoat, the metallic-looking uniform underneath, his odd, fixed demeanor, and especially his strange, almost robotic behavior, like the telepathic communication and the highly unusual instruction for Derenberger to report the encounter.
Those details do stand out.
All these elements resonate strongly with the classic Men in Black trope. The Men in Black, or MIB, are mysterious, often government-linked figures in dark suits who famously appear after UFO sightings or paranormal events, allegedly to silence witnesses, suppress information, or intimidate those who've seen too much.
Right, the guys who tell you to forget what you saw.
Exactly. They are often described as having unusual mannerisms, a lack of emotion, and sometimes a strange, fixed smile.
Smiling.
Yeah, see the connection. In this interpretation, Indrid Cold isn't an alien, but rather a highly trained covert operative or part of a clandestine government experiment.
What would be the purpose?
Well, the purpose could range from testing psychological responses to highly unusual encounters, gathering data on individuals who report unexplained phenomena, or even engaging in sophisticated disinformation campaigns.
And telling him to report it, how does that fit?
The instruction to report the encounter could be seen as a deliberate psychological test, maybe a way to gauge public reaction, or even to subtly plant a seed of information or misinformation into the collective consciousness. It adds a chilling layer of human-driven mystery, suggesting a hidden, powerful force at play that is still deeply unsettling, perhaps even more so because it originates from within our own society.
So it's like a psychological operation rather than an alien visit, suggesting a complex, controlled interaction. But of course, no thorough exploration of such a case would be complete without rigorously considering the skeptical viewpoints.
Absolutely, you have to.
What are the alternative explanations offered for the Indrid Cold story by those who lean towards a more conventional understanding?
Well, skeptics naturally offer several alternative explanations, seeking to ground the extraordinary in the mundane or the psychological. These range from simple misidentifications, maybe headlights, atmospheric phenomena, even a prankster in costume under unusual circumstances,
Possible, I guess.
to profound psychological phenomena like hallucinations, or even conscious or unconscious embellishments that, over time, grew into the elaborate urban legend we know today. The hoax or delusion theory is particularly prominent and frequently discussed in relation to Derenberger's account.
Let's delve into that. What are the primary arguments that lead some to believe it might have been a hoax or a profound delusion on Derenberger's part?
The primary argument for the hoax or delusion theory rests on a crucial fact. Woodrow Derenberger was, in essence, the sole witness to the initial core encounter on Interstate 77.
Right. No one else saw that specific event.
Exactly. While we discussed other Grinning Man sightings, none of them directly corroborated his specific interaction with Indrid Cold, the particular craft description, or the telepathic message.
Yeah.
Furthermore, a significant point of contention for skeptics is how his story became progressively more elaborate over time. It started as a bewildering roadside encounter, then escalated to claims of multiple visits, and eventually the astonishing claim of a journey to another planet, Lanulos, with vivid descriptions of its inhabitants and environment.
That trip to Lanulos is a big leap.
It's a huge leap. This dramatic escalation, particularly the uncorroborated planetary travel, naturally raises profound questions about the veracity of his claims and whether elements were entirely fabricated or perhaps grew out of a psychological state, like confabulation or even a complex delusion.
Yet, you mentioned earlier that his family and closest friends consistently found him credible, and he never once retracted his story, even under public scrutiny.
Yes, that's the counterpoint.
That seems to provide a compelling counterargument to the idea of a simple, cynical hoax, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and it's a critical piece of the puzzle that prevents easy dismissal. The unwavering consistency of Derenberger's account, maintained over decades, and the fact that those closest to him, his family and friends, perceived him as a truthful, reliable individual, makes it genuinely difficult to simply write off his story as a deliberate fabrication or an attention-seeking hoax.
He stuck to his guns.
He really did. People who perpetrate hoaxes often crack under pressure or eventually recant. Derenberger dedicated a significant part of his later life to publicly sharing and defending this story, even in the face of widespread ridicule and disbelief, which makes us seriously question the depth of his conviction.
So if not a simple hoax,
This brings us to another skeptical interpretation, one that blends psychology with sociology. The possibility of mass suggestion or a phenomenon of shared community storytelling.
explain that concept of mass suggestion. How could something like Indrid Cold arise from that?
This theory posits that the Indrid Cold phenomenon and perhaps other similar sightings might not be a deliberate individual hoax, but rather, more subtly, a phenomenon of shared community storytelling, amplified by existing cultural anxieties and fascinations.
So the culture itself played a role.
Hugely. The 1960s were, as we noted, a period of intense UFO mania. Flying saucer reports, alleged alien encounters, and tales of mysterious visitors saturated headlines, pulp fiction, and popular culture. This prevailing atmosphere of intense societal interest in UFOs and the unknown could have acted as a powerful psychological amplifier,
Okay.
shaping and even subtly influencing individual experiences and interpretations. People might have consciously or unconsciously embellished details of their own strange experiences, or even convinced themselves of events that didn't occur, influenced by the dominant narratives around them.
Like a feedback loop.
Exactly. It's a kind of collective effervescence where a community's shared beliefs and anxieties feed into this feedback loop, giving rise to and solidifying a collective narrative. This highlights the intricate social psychology behind how legends are formed, how they spread, and how they can gain traction, often feeding on existing anxieties and fascinations within a community, sometimes even without a single malicious intent to deceive. It transforms an individual experience into a collective myth.
That makes a tremendous amount of sense, especially considering the cultural landscape of that particular era. It truly brings us to the core of this exploration, the enduring mystery and the elusive threads of truth woven into a story like Indrid Cold's. It's quite remarkable how a single, bizarre, and largely unverified account can transform into such a powerful, enduring legend that is still discussed and debated decades later. What makes these stories so incredibly sticky, to use your phrase?
It's a truly fascinating psychological and sociological phenomenon, isn't it? The inherent stickiness of stories like Indrid Cold's stems from a confluence of several compelling elements. Firstly, it's the sheer uniqueness and unsettling specificity of the details. The almost absurd kerosene lamp chimney craft, the perpetually fixed, unnerving grin, the silent telepathic communication.
Those details grab you.
They're inherently memorable and visually striking. Secondly, there's the compelling, almost archetypal imagery. The mysterious visitor, the alien encounter, the sense of the unknown peering into our reality. And finally, and perhaps most profoundly, it taps into a fundamental human desire for the inexplicable, for something that lies just beyond the confines of our current understanding.
We want to believe, or at least wonder.
Exactly. These stories resonate because they often touch upon our deepest fears and fascinations about the unknown, about our place in the cosmos, and about the very nature of reality itself.
And Woodrow Derenberger himself plays such a uniquely crucial role in solidifying this legend. It wasn't just an anonymous report that vanished into the ether. It was his story, passionately maintained.
His persistence is key.
His willingness to speak publicly, hold press conferences, and even write an entire book about his experiences, especially in the face of widespread ridicule and profound skepticism, is absolutely central to the story's continued propagation and enduring power. What does that unwavering commitment tell us about him? Or perhaps about the inherent nature of conviction itself?
It speaks volumes about an extraordinary depth of conviction, or perhaps, as we discussed, a profound and unshakable psychological impact. For a seemingly ordinary man, a regular salesman, to maintain such an extraordinary claim repeatedly and publicly for the rest of his life. Well, it takes immense personal courage or an utterly unshakable belief in his own experience.
You have to admire the tenacity in a way.
Yeah, you do. His unwavering consistency over decades, even as the details of his claims escalated, is what compels us to look beyond simple dismissals. He invested his reputation, his peace of mind, and significant time and effort into sharing this story, which makes us question the true depth of his conviction and the nature of his reality. Was it belief, or was it something more complex?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a testament to how local Appalachian folklore, regional anxieties, and individual witness testimony can powerfully blend to shape a lasting narrative, often blurring the lines between what is demonstrably fact and what is pure fiction.
Definitely a potent mix.
This case truly forces us to confront some profound core enigmas, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and this is where the threads of truth truly become tangled. The core enigmas remain stubbornly persistent. Was Derenberger's story a deliberate fabrication, a profound psychological delusion, or a genuine, albeit inexplicable, encounter with something truly beyond human understanding?
No easy answers.
Not at all. The narrative itself, as we've explored, contains fascinating inconsistencies and transformations. A seemingly benign space brother was later depicted as a more sinister, grinning figure, a shift arguably influenced by figures like John Keel and other regional sightings.
Right, the evolving story.
The thread of truth in this case isn't about finding a simple yes or no answer, but about exploring the very limits of our perception, The fragility of reality and the terrifying, tantalizing possibility that some phenomena simply cannot be explained by conventional means. It challenges our fundamental worldview.
And that's precisely why this story still resonates so deeply with so many people, even today, isn't it? Because it touches on that fundamental ancient question. Are we alone in the universe? And if not, what form might other intelligences take when they interact with us?
Yes,
The thought is both thrilling and profoundly unsettling.
precisely. Despite its ambiguities, its conflicting accounts, and the utter lack of concrete, verifiable evidence, the legend of Indrid Cold remains an enduring cornerstone of American paranormal folklore and UFO lore, particularly emblematic of the high strangeness phenomena of the 1960s.
That's a classic.
It really is. His story serves as a powerful meditation on the often fragile limits of human perception and the tantalizing, almost frightening possibility that there are phenomena, intelligences, or realities just beyond our immediate grasp, waiting to be encountered or perhaps simply observed. It continues to challenge our assumptions about the true nature of reality and the unseen world.
The legend of Indrid Cold is a mystery that has haunted a community for decades. A man encounters a grinning stranger on a deserted road, and a legend is born, taking on a life of its own. Was he a hoax, a product of a troubled mind, or a genuine visitor from another world? The threads of truth in this case are tangled in a complex web of folklore, conspiracy, and one man's unshakable lifelong belief. The ultimate truth of who or what Indrid Cold truly was may be forever lost to the mists of time, but his story and the bizarre legend that continues to surround it will undoubtedly persist.
It certainly will.
What do you think happened to Woodrow Derenberger? Do you believe the extraterrestrial or interdimensional theory, or do you find another explanation more compelling? Next time, we examine the chilling 1974 murder of Arliss Perry inside Stanford Memorial Church, a case that would haunt investigators for decades. Thank you for joining us on Threads of Truth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen.
Your support truly helps us continue to shed light on these unsolved cases and search for the truth, one thread at a time.